It's week 12 of the college football season. We're in the home stretch of the regular season. We got a lot of great matchups. Let's get straight to it. We start things off with Notre Dame versus Pittsburgh in the college game day game of the week. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. This is a super weird game. Super weird. Originally, I was extremely confident in Pittsburgh, and I was going to ride with Pitt. I was going to take Pitt against the spread, and I was even going to pick Pitt to win this game. Until I heard a little quote from the Pitt head coach that is extremely, and I mean extremely concerning, and this quote is a perfect representation as to why Notre Dame are a bunch of pussies and bitches and why I hate them. Basically, he said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, we could lose this game 100-0 or 100-2. It does not matter as long as we win the next two. Why? Pitt is in the ACC championship race right now. Their schedule from this point on is really hard. And this game essentially is irrelevant. The likelihood that Pitt goes to the playoff without winning the ACC championship is very, very low. So a game like this will not matter because it's not an ACC game. And it really matters because next week, I think Pittsburgh's got Georgia Tech in Georgia. And the week after that, the final week of the regular season, they got Miami. It's, that Georgia Tech game, that Miami game is much more important than this Notre Dame game. So now I'm scared. I'm going to be honest, I'm scared. I was going to take a Pittsburgh as an official play, bet on them, but, the fucking coach himself said this game is irrelevant. Now, maybe this is some reverse psychology, and he's trying to psych his players up by putting all the pressure on Notre Dame and not Pitt, and say like, oh, this is nothing for us, don't get scared, right? Because Notre Dame is a decent team. But I don't know. I'm going to stay the fuck away from this game. I'll make my pick the way it was going to be, which is Pitt to cover, Pitt to win. But when coach says he doesn't give a fuck if they win or lose this game or lose by 50 or 100 at that matter, there's no fucking way I'm betting on them. But there's nothing more I hope for than for Pittsburgh to just embarrass Notre Dame, because Notre Dame are a bunch of pussies, they're a bunch of frauds, and they are ruining college football. They don't deserve to be in the college football playoff, and they sure as hell deserve to be in a conference. I'm sick of this independent bullshit. Join a conference, you little bitches. So Pittsburgh to cover, Pittsburgh to win. Fuck Notre Dame because they're the reason I can't bet on this game because Pittsburgh is throwing me off. Watch, Pittsburgh's going to fucking cover this spread. I'm going to be so pissed. Whatever, no bet for me on this one. Pitt to cover, Pitt to win. Coach shouldn't have said that. I don't know why coach said that. Next game, we have Michigan at Northwestern. Actually, I think this game is not even at Northwestern officially. This is at, Wrigley, I want to say. I don't know, why they're playing at Wrigley, but whatever. It is what it is. So that actually concerns me because this is not really a home game for Northwestern. I think there's going to be a lot of Michigan fans. It's going to be kind of more or less a neutral site, if not more Michigan crowd. But yeah, Michigan, 10-point favorites over Northwestern. Northwestern has been decent this year. Very decent. We've bet on Northwestern, I think, a couple times. Definitely against Oregon, I remember that game, because they were not supposed to cover, and they covered. And, they've been balling. I'm not hating this Northwestern team. As for Michigan, they've definitely gradually improved over the season. And, they still got a chance to make the playoffs, as crazy as it sounds. They only have one Big Ten loss, if I'm not mistaken, because the other loss was to Oklahoma, which is not a non-conference game, which the Big Ten loss was to USC. Now, obviously, the big Michigan game, we all know it's coming 2 weeks from now when they play Ohio State. That's the game everyone's really waiting for. But this is not a game they should be overlooking. Northwestern can run the ball extremely well, and they can play a similar style to Michigan. For that reason, I actually think this is going to be a very low-scoring, grimy game between two teams that are going to try to run the ball down each other's throats. And for that reason, I'm going with Northwestern to cover and Michigan to win. But I'm taking Northwestern plus 10.5 as an official play. I think Northwestern keeps us in striking distance. I think the running game is the key for Northwestern. And I think Northwestern's defense steps up to the plate, plays well, and is able to limit Michigan in the ground And that's the key, because let Michigan throw. I don't think Michigan's all that much of a threat throwing the ball as they are running the ball. Northwestern will cover the spread. I do think Michigan still wins it, but I think Northwestern should and will cover this one. I'd be shocked if Michigan just blows Northwestern out, especially in a technically Northwestern home game, even though it might not really be. So yeah, Northwestern plus 10.5. Official play. I'm rolling with Northwestern. They haven't failed me yet. Let's see if they fail me now. I hope not, because I really need to bounce back. Northwestern plus 10.5. Official play. Next game, we have Arizona versus Cincinnati. Nice little Big 12 matchup. Cincinnati still in the thick of things. Arizona essentially eliminated. In Cincinnati, so they're not huge favorites, but big enough favorites. 6-point favorites over Arizona. I think this line is a little bit fishy. I'm not going to bet it, but maybe you want to throw Cincinnati money line into a parlay. That could be my advice for this game, but that essentially tells you what I'm picking here. It's going to be Cincinnati to win, Cincinnati to cover. I wouldn't be surprised if Cincinnati blows the brakes off of Arizona. I think part of this and why I'm not taking the 6, but I definitely will look into putting Cincinnati money line into some sort of parlay. It's a 12 o'clock game. Big travel. Arizona's got a long way to go to Cincinnati for a 12 o'clock game. You know how these West Coast teams play in the East Coast. I actually don't know if Cincinnati's Eastern time zone or Central time zone, but they're in that ballpark. So yeah, I'm taking Cincinnati to win, Cincinnati to cover. I'm not going to bet this one officially. I'm a little scared to lay 6 versus an Arizona offense that when it gets going, it's going. But I think Cincinnati should win and should cover this game. That's my pick for the video, but no official play for me on this one. Next game. Next we have South Carolina versus Texas A&M. South Carolina, pretty disappointing year. Texas A&M, an extremely impressive year. Still have yet to lose. As crazy as it sounds, they might go all the way into the SEC championship undefeated. That's insane. But yeah, humongous favorites here. I mean, ginormous. Texas A&M just 17.5-point favorites. I mean, realistically, you see this Texas A&M team, you see how good they are on defense, you see how good they are on offense. South Carolina should be no match for them. We've seen time and time again this season, South Carolina just look like absolute dog shit, especially when the pressure's on Sellers, and Sellers is running around that pocket because the O-line can't block for shit. I'm not going to bet this game, obviously, and there's no value even in the money line as well. I can't give you like a Texas A&M money line, throw it in with Cincinnati money line play, because it's like fucking juiced up to the gills. I'll just say for the video's sake, Texas A&M to win, Texas A&M to cover. I could see South Carolina, having a very impressive performance similar to the ones they had versus Alabama. But they're on the road in College Station. I think Texas A&M is going to run up this score, run it up heavy. Texas A&M showing the world that they are legit. And they are legit. They really are. This isn't the same old Texas A&M team. So, yeah, I'm not going to bet this one because there's no fucking way in hell I'm laying 17.5 points. That's just insane. Versus a South Carolina team that's still decent. So, yeah, I'll take Texas A&M to win, Texas A&M to cover. No official play for me on this one. Next game. Next, we have Arkansas versus LSU in a very interesting little matchup here. LSU, obviously, their season's over. They suck. And Arkansas' season's been over. But, Arkansas is still playing for some dignity. LSU, I don't even know what they're playing for. They're in LSU for this one, and LSU is a decent little favorite, 4.5-point favorite. But, I'm not betting this one. I know y'all in the comments going to go crazy because y'all want me to take that Arkansas play. Every time I take Arkansas or bet on Arkansas, it's just a shit show. I'll say, actually, as crazy as it sounds, I actually think Arkansas wins this game and covers the spread. Obviously, if they're winning, they're covering. But, covers and wins, I should say. I know. Some of y'all are probably going crazy, but I really do think Arkansas can do it. I know the LSU defense is very, very strong, and it will give Arkansas a lot of problems. But that LSU offense, are we really expecting them to just ball out? And I know Arkansas defense sucks, but I think Arkansas's offense can outplay LSU's defense slightly. And I think Arkansas's defense could step up to the plate versus an LSU offense that's been extremely underwhelming this season. I'm not going to lie, this game is not really catching my eye the way I would have hoped it would. Not going to bet this one at all. I want nothing to do with this game because it's just like two teams that are done for. I'll take Arkansas to win, Arkansas to cover, just because, I roll with Arkansas, baby. I roll with Arkansas. But I'm not betting it. There's no fucking way. It's a shit show every time I bet Arkansas. I don't want it. My heart can't fucking handle it. I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack watching this shit. So yeah, Arkansas covers, Arkansas wins. No bet for me on this one. Next game. Next we have Iowa versus USC in an extremely interesting game. Now, the key to this game, weather. I've turned into a weatherman. I'm doing the hard-nosed research. And the research says the weather is going to be absolutely dog shit in Southern California. Now, I don't know what that really means because I never see bad weather in the Southern California. But it's saying it's going to rain, and it's going to rain super hard. It's going to be very wet in USC. And that benefits Iowa significantly. You guys know the rules, man. Iowa, man, they want it to be grimy, nasty, and ugly. And that's exactly what it's going to be if it's pouring rain. USC, don't get me wrong, they can run the ball pretty well, but they can't run like Iowa. You saw last week how Iowa played versus an Oregon team that I think is a lot better than USC, which they're going to play each other, I think, next week. But it was raining, it was nasty, and Iowa was this fucking close to beating Oregon. And then you have this. I mean, if it's, put it like this. If the weather report is correct, this is an easy Iowa win. If it's not, then I might be fucked, but I'm rolling the dice and saying the weather report is going to be accurate. And it's going to be raining in California, Southern California, because California is pretty big. Iowa! Plus 6.5! Official play! Hell yes! I like USC. I do like USC. But if the weather says anything, it's going to be an Iowa game all day long. Iowa's going to run the ball down USC's throats. And in a low-scoring game, Iowa wins. Don't get me wrong. Even if it's not raining, I still like Iowa's chances to cover. That's why I'm taking it as an official play. Iowa has been very decent this year. And I got last week wrong. I had Oregon to cover, and Oregon didn't cover. They could have, but whatever. It is what it is. And, you know, Iowa just this whole season has been going under the radar, playing decent football. I like USC. I think they could win this game, but I don't think they will because of the rain. Give me Iowa to cover, Iowa to win. I'm not betting that Iowa will win just because it's a little bit nasty and scary, but Iowa cover, a 6.5 point spread, I think that's, I don't want to say it's a lock, but I think it's a pretty good bet if I do say so myself. If it's pouring rain, so easy, Iowa win. Iowa, plus 6.5, official play. I like this one a lot. I really do like this one a lot. So, rolling with it. Next game. Next we have Oklahoma versus Alabama in what could be the best game of the week, that's for sure. Y'all remember last year was when this matchup happened, Alabama suffered a horrific loss that essentially ended their season. Any shot they had of the playoffs was done after that game where Oklahoma came out of nowhere and beat them. And last year's Oklahoma team was dog shit compared to this one. This year's Oklahoma team is actually pretty good. So now it could be a revenge game, but let's get it straight. Alabama has gone through an absolute gauntlet. I mean, they've beaten everybody and their mothers, from Georgia to Vanderbilt to Tennessee to who else they played? LSU last week, Missouri. Every week it just feels like Alabama's playing the top echelon of the SEC besides A&M and Mississippi. Everyone else seems like they're playing. South Carolina played as well. They've been winning these games, and they've been actually covering most of them as well. But I think this is the game where their luck runs out. I don't know if Oklahoma wins this one, but I do know Oklahoma covers! Oklahoma plus 6 on the road! I think enough time has passed for Mateer. His hand is feeling okay. He's going to be able to sling the rock. We saw how good Mateer was before the hand surgery. I think enough time has passed. Mateer is that guy, and he will play extremely well versus Alabama. Alabama has been beating the shit out of every SEC team, literally every single one, and I think this is a game that's a letdown spot for them. Again, they still might pull this one out. They really might, but I think 6 points is a lot. I think it's too big of a spread. I would have made it Alabama minus 3.5. 6 is way too much. Oklahoma is a good enough team to keep this in striking distance, especially if Alabama's offense is not going the way it should be going. Oklahoma covers, and for shits and gigs, I'll say Oklahoma wins. Don't quote me on that because I don't know if they will win or not. I don't have a read on that. But I do have a read on the fact that Oklahoma will cover the spread. Mateer's going to ball. It's going to be a high-scoring, I think, shootout in my opinion. And because of that, Oklahoma might lose by a field goal. Or Oklahoma might walk into Tuscaloosa and slap the shit out of Alabama. It could happen. It could happen. You don't know. Because again, a loss like this for Alabama is not super detrimental. It's not. They lose this one, okay, maybe they won't be playing in the SEC championship, but they'll still make the playoff, I think for sure. Because if they're making it, if Georgia's making it, then they have to make it because they beat Georgia. But whatever, it's not important right now. Oklahoma, +6, official play. I think Oklahoma covers this bitch easy. Next game. Next, we have an absolutely ginormous ACC matchup. This ACC is just a mess. It is an absolute mess. Virginia versus Duke. Duke at home, slight favorites. And I shouldn't even say slight favorites. They're sizable favorites. 3.5 is an interesting number. It's almost like this is a trappy little game. And I already said, I've been through the Duke fucking cycle already. I'm not betting on Duke. I'm not doing it. But this spread kind of tells me, like, you should be taking Virginia. You should be taking Virginia. Because Virginia is coming off a pretty bad loss. I think it was last week. And Duke also coming off a pretty bad loss, actually, also. The only difference is Duke's was not an ACC loss. I don't know. Weird game. Weird game that's going to have a huge effect on the ACC standings. Essentially, losers eliminated. I feel like it's a trap, but I'm not betting this one, so I don't give a fuck. But I'm still going to... Look, it's a trap spread, but I'm falling for the trap, I guess, if you could say it that way. I'll take Virginia to cover, Virginia to win. I just don't think Duke is all that, and I've seen them time and time again shit their pants and play bad. Now, funny enough, they shit their pants and play bad versus non-conference opponents. When they're in the ACC, they're actually playing decent football. But I don't know. This game is just so fucking weird. I want nothing to do with it. At this point, like, betting the ACC is just like... closing your eyes and fucking picking a team like that. I'm going to be honest, it's like a shit show. Everyone's beating everybody, it's a mess. So I'll say Virginia wins, Virginia covers. No way am I touching this game. I want nothing to do with this game. But if it's an interesting game, I'll tune in and watch. Maybe if you could get one of these teams live, because I think it will be a very close game, high-scoring affair. But again, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. You know it gets nasty in the ACC the way it's been this year. I think Virginia is slightly better than Duke. I guess Duke is getting priced in a home field advantage, but I think it's overly priced in. I don't know. I'll say Virginia wins, Virginia covers. No bet for me on this one. Staying the fuck away from that one. Next game. Next we have Florida versus Mississippi. And you guys know this matchup is extra special to me. If y'all remember last year, this was the exact matchup when I became college football. It was Mississippi at Florida. That's the only difference. And I basically told all of y'all that Florida is going to win the game straight up. And they did. They did. I actually think this is the exact same spread. Believe it or not. It was like also like last year. I remember it was like 12.5, maybe 11.5. Something like it was very close to this exact spread. Which is a little bit intriguing because, why would Mississippi only be 11.5 point favorites here when they were 11.5 point favorites back then and they were on the road and this is at home? Now, I guess the logic would be that Mississippi last year was a lot better than this Mississippi team. But then you can argue this Florida team is a lot worse than last year's Florida team. Even though if you look at the record, it's probably in the same ballpark. Look, Florida's coming off one of the most embarrassing losses of the season. It was an absolute shit show, absolute embarrassment, absolute disgusting performance. And Mississippi has been super hot this year. Let's get it straight off the bat. I think Mississippi wins this game. Now, how badly do they win this game? The key will be offense versus defense. Mississippi has an extremely efficient offense, but Florida has a pretty good defense. However, we saw last week what Kentucky did to Florida. They just ran the ball down their throat. They did whatever the fuck they wanted to versus that Florida defense. Not to mention, the Florida offense was not that much better. And Kentucky was turning the ball over. It wasn't one of those games where they were just fully perfect. It was a shitty game from Kentucky too. Kentucky was just able to run up the score like a motherfucker. if Kentucky was able to do it, I think Mississippi will be able to do it. I'm not a big fan of laying 11.5 points, but, at home, and a Mississippi team that I know wants to make a statement, I know wants to get revenge from last year. Give me Mississippi 11.5 spread. Official play. Official play. Official play. I think Mississippi can beat the living, breathing shit out of Florida. I don't give a fuck who's playing quarterback for Florida. They're all fucking bums. They're all trash. Florida got fucking embarrassed last week, and this week they're going to get even worse. They're going to be done even worse. Mississippi will win and cover. I got full-fledged faith in Mississippi. I'm riding with Mississippi heavy this year. I still believe Mississippi can win the SEC, and a game like this is a statement win. Blow them up, baby. Blow them up. Mississippi, minus 11.5. Official play. They win by 30. Lane Kiffin runs up the score on his potential future team here. This could be Lane Kiffin's team next year. Mississippi official play spread. Next game, we have Utah versus Baylor. Is this actually the next game? Yes, it is. Utah versus Baylor. I'm not betting this bitch, but I want to talk about Utah. Utah has a chance to play in the Big 12 championship. I know it's unlikely, but I'm riding with it, baby. I'm riding with it. We're in too deep now. Utah on the road, humongous favorites on the road, which is crazy. But I guess it goes to show, like, Baylor offensively is this big, I was going to say powerhouse, but not really. They're a good offensive program. But defensively, they suck. And I guess the logic would be Utah's defense is pretty good, so they're just going to shut down the Baylor offense and run up the score. You keep seeing these trap spreads with Utah, and it's very funny because the books give a lot of respect to Utah, like a lot of respect. And I'll give them the respect they deserve. Obviously, I'm riding with my boys. I've been riding with them all season. Utah to win, Utah to cover. Throw that Utah money line into a parlay. Hey, maybe that's a play right here. I'm not going to make it as an official play, but it's a slight suggestion if you want. The Utah money line with, what was the other game I said? Let me find it right now. Cincinnati money line, a little Big 12 parlay. I think that could be an interesting game you put together. I'm not betting this one. I'm no fucking way I'm laying 8.5 points on the road. That's insane. That's psychotic. But I think Utah wins this one without a doubt. And potentially even covers. For the video's sake, I'll say Utah wins. Utah covers. No bet for me on this one, though. Let's go Utes, baby. Let's go Utes. I need that BYU loss, baby. All of a sudden, a BYU loss, and we're still in it because BYU has a tough matchup next week. Whew. Utah wins. Utah covers. Next game, another potential game of the week here. Texas versus Georgia in Athens. I think, the third time they're playing each other in like a year and a half. They played each other last year in the regular season. Georgia won. They played each other last year in the SEC championship. Georgia won. And now here we are again. Georgia at home, 6.5 point favorites. I think Georgia is starting to improve. Early in the season, they were a little bit shitty and had very poor first half performances and only got it going in the second half. And you saw it versus teams like Florida, Auburn and shit like that. But last week was a big statement victory. They blew the brakes off of Mississippi State, absolutely dominated them fully throughout the entire game. And I think that's a big turning point for Georgia because they have to play like that consistently versus a Texas team that I think is starting to get hot, but not really. Texas has sucked all season long. And I feel that one win versus Vanderbilt that, is a big win. The score doesn't tell the story of that game. Vanderbilt had a good fourth quarter. Texas dominated Vanderbilt, completely dominated them. And I just don't think that one game is enough for me to say, yeah, Texas is back, Arch is him. Arch has been improving, don't get me wrong, but he still sucks. I know Georgia's defense isn't the Georgia defense of old, but I think Georgia dominates this game. I think they win this one. I think they blow the fuck out of Texas. I'm rolling with Georgia, and I'm rolling with Georgia heavy. Give me Georgia! Minus 6.5. Official play. I'm going to be honest. I think this is probably my favorite pick of the week. I mean, unless it's pouring rain in the USC game, this is my favorite game of the week for sure. For sure. I think Georgia just full-blown domination. Texas has a good defense, yes, but I think that Georgia offense can control that Texas defense. And most importantly, I think Arch Manning sucks. I think he sucks. and I think he deserves more criticism. And the reason he doesn't get criticized as much as he should is because his last name is Manning and who his uncles are and who his grandpa is. Look, I'm not rolling with the Texas hype. I think Texas is extremely overrated. People keep blazing Texas, saying they're a playoff team. I think in this last CFP bracket, they were in it, which is absolutely asinine. It's unbelievable. This is disgusting. Texas sucks. Texas sucks! Georgia wins! Georgia covers! That Georgia spread is easy money, baby. It's like breakfast, baby. I'm eating it all up. Georgia minus 6.5, official play. I love it. I love it. I love it. Next game. Next we have, I think, the final matchup of the week. Yes, TCU versus BYU, a little 10-15 kickoff. Whew! Late night, baby, late night. Even though I'm not going to be watching this, I'm watching UFC. Huge UFC card for those of you that watch UFC. Holy fuck, that UFC card is insane. But yeah, so TCU versus BYU. Obviously, I'm not betting on it because I'm watching UFC. But look, I'm going to keep this one short and simple. I don't give a fuck about this game except for one reason and one reason only. If BYU loses this game, they have a very difficult matchup next week. And if they lose that one, that's going to put them at 3 Big 12 losses, which means Utah, only with 2 Big 12 losses, is probably going to sneak in there and play Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. And I like Utah's chances. For that reason, give me TCU plus 3.5 and the money line. No bet for me on this one. I'm not betting on this one, but I will be actively rooting for TCU. Let's go TCU, baby. To beat BYU, I need BYU to lose, so that Texas Tech versus Utah Big 12 championship matchup can happen, and Utah beats Texas Tech and wins the Big 12 because I need it to happen, and my future is going to be still alive. Packers Super Bowl. Yeah, so TCU spread, TCU money line in a game I don't give a fuck about, to be honest. Now, I will say I feel like this game is a little bit trappy. To see a BYU -3 line even being out there goes to show that this is a weird game. It's almost like they're wanting to bet. They're wanting you to bet on BYU. But at the same time, I feel like BYU has been disrespected so much this season. Every game for BYU feels like a trap spread in the opposite way, where they want you to take the opposite. And I don't know. This is a trap game. I should bet it, but I won't. TCU to cover. TCU to win. Those are my predictions for week 12 of the college football season. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know who you guys got this week. And stay tuned for more content coming soon.